What's up, y'all? TBrown31 here with JaboctheGreat. Welcome back to the last word. Man, we got a doozy of a game to talk about from last night, man. This Detroit Houston game, this was probably one of the more hyped games coming into the weekend. Sunday Night Football, two good QBs, two good teams. Obviously, the Lions coming off with that win against the Packers, and then Vikings before that, Titans. So they've been on a roll, won 7 straight. Texans kind of faltering the last couple of weeks, but looking to rebound. And look, the first half, they did. Second half, they did not.
Yeah, I mean that's a good way to put it. The Lions end up winning this one, 26-23. It's 23-7 in the first half for the Texans. It looks like they've got it all together. They forced some crazy stuff from the Lions offense. A lot of turnovers in this game. And the first half mostly for the Lions, and the second half comes out. I don't know what Dan Campbell said in the locker room, but it completely flips around. They start going back and forth, turnover for turnover, and the Texans don't score again, and that's pretty much it. That makes it sound really simple, though. This game is insane. So we'll look at it on paper. Some of the paper does kind of do justice to what actually happened, but you had to definitely see in this game, even if you missed it live. I mean, this is one I feel like you gotta watch at least some of this game from it. So Jared Goff, people, I didn't think he was really up in MVP conversations, but today, a lot of people talked about how Jared Goff single-handedly took himself out of MVP conversations last night. I don't think he was really up there, but if he was, he has certainly left that conversation. He went 15 for 30, 240 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 5 interceptions on the night. Really bad. Some of them, or one of them, is just that unfortunate result of Hail Mary play. That's kind of you get 2 results on those, maybe 3: incomplete pass, interception, touchdown. Likely for Hail Mary, it's interception or touchdown. He does get the win though. So 5 picks, 2 touchdowns, has a win. The Lions' ground game still worked pretty well. Jahmyr Gibbs got 71 yards. Montgomery got 32 yards. Got himself a touchdown. Sam Laporta showed up to National Tight End Day a little bit late, but did pretty good. 66 yards. Got himself a touchdown. He was their leading receiver. Amon-Ra St. Brown was right behind him with 60 yards and a touchdown. Jamison Williams pitched in 53 yards as well. David Montgomery did have a fumble, but he saved it. Carlton Davis II picks off C.J. Stroud twice, which may seem bad, but just wait till we get to the Texans interceptions. And then Jake Bates hits a 58-yard field goal, and then later on hits a 52-yarder to win the game. Big day for him. Been seeing a lot of stuff today about how he never kicked a football in high school or college, so big for him to show up. I think he said last night that he was a brick salesman a few months ago. So shout out to him for coming out and nailing that game winner. He's been good for the Lions so far. For the Texans, this is a tough one. They had this game in the bag for sure. I mean, you're up 23-7 at halftime. Obviously, anything can happen. Anything did happen here. But they had this one wrapped up. They would then throw that away on their own. C.J. Stroud did not play a horrible game at first, but it definitely got a little rough. 19 for 33, 232 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, both to Carlton Davis. He was sacked 4 times for a total loss of 40 yards. There's more on the O-line. Some major issues on this Texans O-line. We've talked about that before with them. We will talk about it again in just a few seconds here. Joe Mixon led them on the ground, 46 yards and a touchdown. John Mechie III led them in the air with 74 yards and a touchdown. Beautiful touchdown pass right before the half was over to Mechie there. So that was great. That was kind of the end of the Texans' glory in this game, was that Mechie touchdown. And then other receivers did pretty well in this game. I mean, CJ passed well. Dalton Schultz had 66 yards. Joe Mixon had 44 yards to put him at 90 total yards on the day. And Tank Dell had 39 yards as well. Now, let's talk about the turnovers in this game. That's what everyone's been talking about. Let's get to it. First of all, this one's not a turnover. This one is just crazy. We can break this down a little bit later. I think you said it right before we recorded. It really does sum up the second half for the Texans. So C.J. Stroud fumbles, and Titus Howard recovered. And if you just looked at the box score, you'd maybe think the D-line gets through, they punch it out of C.J. Stroud's hand, and Titus Howard, being the great helpful O-lineman he is, jumps on the ball and recovers it for C.J. Unfortunately, that is not what happened. The defense does put pressure on the O-line. C.J. Stroud backpedals, turns around, trying to get away, and then Titus Howard, his own O-lineman, bear hugs them, strips the ball out of his hands, and then dives on the ball to save it. So he does have a fumble recovery. C.J. Stroud does have the fumble, but Howard is not as much of a hero here as more as he just saved his own mistake. Though you still lose, a good bit of yards there, and the play is pretty much blown up. And now, without further ado, these are the people who picked off Jared Goff. Kamari Lassiter picked him off twice. Jimmy Ward, Henry To'oTo'o, and Kalen Bullock also got each interception. So that's 3 for those 3, and then 2 for Lassiter. And then Kyrie Fairbairn had a pretty good game overall, and then missed a big field goal towards the end of the game. The Lions would then pick it up on the next drive and go down just a little bit, and Jake Bates would nail that 92-yarder. So tough one for Fairbairn to miss the one field goal at the end. It was a long attempt, but still pretty bad. Yeah, Texans. I'll pass this to you. That was a lot, I know, but Texans played a really good football game in the first half. They had 3 of their 5 interceptions in the first half. They went up into halftime with a 23-7 lead, and then for some reason in the second half they decided, you know what, we want to turn the ball over, and they stopped scoring. They stopped playing as good, as disciplined of an offense, and the Lions just found a little bit of footing, a little bit of room to get a score here, get a score there, get some field goals in, and they stole this game from them. So they move on to 8-1. The Lions dropped the Texans dropped to 6-4, still comfortably leading their division. So not the most catastrophic result, but this game really stings, I'm sure. And this is something I think the Lions needed, right? You get this big second half comeback, you overcome a 5 interception game. That is a good test for a playoff team. For Houston, who's probably going to make the playoffs as the AFC South leader, this is bad. I mean, you picked a guy off 5 times and lost, and you just threw it down the drain. Couldn't score in the second half at all. So this one's really tough. This is a doozy of a game, is a great way to put it. It was certainly entertaining. It started out seeming like it was just going to be a wash, but this game definitely got fun. Maybe for different reasons than other primetime games, but this was an all-timer for a primetime matchup.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about the second half, and what's hilarious is Dan Campbell was doing an interview, and he's saying, like, we need to come out, we need to get a turnover. And immediately CJ Stroud throws that big interception to Carlton Davis, his first one. And what Houston really failed to do in this game was run the ball. I mean, their running game was nowhere. I mean, it was just dead the entire game. I mean, Joe Mixon, he had been a big story the past few games. He was having a great season so far. Amidst all these injuries for Houston, he got nothing going in this one. 25 carries, just 46 yards, so less than 2 yards a carry. Like, he did have 1 touchdown, but it was an awful game overall running the ball for Houston. They only got 56 total. So that's what you would have wanted to do coming out. You have a 23-7 lead. Like, you would want to be able to come out, run the ball. Like, you're not going to completely abandon pass, but it's not as if in the first half Houston was throwing it all over the field. I mean, so many of their scores, which a lot were field goals rather than touchdowns, came off a really good position. The first interception, they went down, they got a touchdown, but they were already at the 33-yard line of Detroit. So not really that far to go in the first place. Their next field goal, they're at their own 43, so pretty good starting position there. Their next field goal, they were at the 30, so that was off a touchback, so kind of normal. The next one, coming off another pick, they're at the 36. So it's like every time they scored, for the most part, they got really good field position, except for 2 drives there. And that last one, they started at their own 34 and went down and got a touchdown there. So, I mean, they had drives where they did move the ball, but it's not as if they came into this game throwing it all over the field, running all over them or anything like that. Like, a lot of it was just the turnovers and good field position, setting them up to score easily. And then that Hail Mary at the end is like, I'm not going to make a big deal about that one. I mean, it's a Hail Mary. Like, that's going to happen sometimes. Or a lot of times when you're throwing Hail Marys at the end of the half. So even with that, Jared Goff still had a pretty awful night overall outside of, the fourth quarter. He still had 4 interceptions if you take out that Hail Mary. So obviously not good. But like I said, CJ Stroud, it was just stupid. It's like, you're going for this long bomb. Like, you don't need to come out, and I understand, like, if you come out, you get a touchdown just like that on that first play, then fantastic. But I don't think you really should come out, and I might be conflating the plays, but either way, you shouldn't come out trying to be too aggressive in the second half when your defense pretty much carried you in that first half with all these interceptions, getting good field position. Just come out, and I know running the ball is not working, but just come out, be mostly conservative, do what you have to do to get off the field. and would get a dub in this game. And instead, he throws an interception. A few drives later, he throws another interception, and Jared Goff still helps him out with picks of his own, which, I mean, he has tips. He had one that looked kind of like a fumble, but it was actually an interception. Like, there's some bad plays here and there throughout this game. But when it came down to it, Houston couldn't get a play to be able to get first down. On right before Fairbairn missed that goal, couldn't get anything going there on 3rd and 4, and you're kind of in that no man's zone where it's like it's a little too far for a field goal, but you don't really want to punt in that situation either, and you don't really want to go for it and give them the ball right there, but you do anyway. And look, the Lions. I'll say this: I think you obviously don't want to have your quarterback throw 5 interceptions. And even the last couple games, we only had like 150 yards and less than 100 yards the game before that. I will say that if you can win a game where your quarterback really isn't playing not even remotely close to a good game at all, you got a really well-rounded team. Like the defense absolutely stepped up in the second half. They shut out Houston. They made plays when they had to. Special teams made plays when they had to. And the running game was still good for them. So obviously, when you get deep into the playoffs, like Jared Goff can't turn the ball over the way he did. He's going to have to throw for more than 100-something yards, throw more than 80 yards for sure. So that's going to be an issue if he continues to play like this. But that just tells me how good Detroit is. So, I mean, if you're able to have a QB not have that great of a game, obviously, and still win against a good Houston team, hats off to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like a major kind of rally and comeback, especially when you consider like they stopped the Texans from doing what they were doing in the first half, right? Like you said, a lot of their scores come because the Lions put them in good field position in the second half. It's 13-23. CJ throws a pick. Jared Goff 2 plays later throws a pick, gives it right back, and then the Texans just can't really get anywhere. Stall out in 6 plays, only really go 6 yards, and then they trade a few punts there here and there, but that's a great moment right there. You just got another pick on Goff. It's 23-13. If you score here, you really probably could put this one to bed. Instead, we punt a few more times, and then you allow that longer drive for the Lions to get down to make it 20-23, and that's when things start to get out of hand. So really resilient win for the Lions here. Rough day for Jared Goff, but yeah, I mean the completeness of the Lions team certainly gets put on display when you're stuck in a position where you're down 23-7 and you've already thrown 3 picks in the first half. So definitely really tough. Similar things, I guess, happen all over the league this weekend. By the way, I think Sam Darnold also threw like 2 picks in the first half, and they won like 7-6 or something, or 12-7 against the Jags. That's a weird game. We're not covering that one, but yeah, I think the Lions put on a brilliant display of just being able to be a resilient football team. You can't do that again in the playoffs, right? Like you don't want to get to let's say a Super Bowl and throw 5 picks. That's over. Like that's you're not winning that one. But this is a good win. This is a good win to show that you're a battle tested team that can lock in and win these hard games. For the Texans, it's a little tough. It's like it's the complete opposite. It shows that things can go completely up for you, but a few slips here and there, and you're not able to fight back against the kind of the surge from the Lions. This is one they're going to want to watch a lot of film on and try to figure out, why couldn't we move the ball downfield? And the Lions defense is good, but this is a really tough result. Thankfully for the Texans, again, they're 6-4, 2 games ahead of their division rivals. They've probably got that division on lock, so they just got to really lock in and keep polishing this team, especially as people begin to come back and get healthy.